Hi, welcome to the ONF Spotlight Series on 5G Connected Edge Cloud for Industry 4.0 Transformation. I'm Larry Peterson from the ONF, and I'm pleased to welcome Amit and Vikram from GS Labs to talk about their work on adapting MEC for 5G transformation. Thank you. Go ahead, Vikram.
Thank you, Larry. I'm engineering director from GS Lab. Our association with ONF goes long back. So this is fourth year we are associated with ONF. We started our work with building of open source 4G core. We called it MCOD at that time, which is now available with release 15 support completely at GitHub. The project is called OMEC, and now we are exploring even Ather, which is enterprise LT platform built by OMEC. We are part of that. So that's a long association that we had with ONF. So Amit, can you go to the next slide?
Yep.
So topic for today's presentation is about MEC platform and its some technical thoughts and standardization work around that. So as everyone knows, MEC platform and applications around that is going up in the hype cycle. If you see the application which are getting good time because of MEC and 5G platform coming up, is seeing a good time. There are a lot of deployments happening which are in pilot, some with the production with enterprise deployments going on. So this is the area which is seeing a very good trend. So in today's presentation, we will be focusing more on MEC, some architectural insights into MEC. Then we will discover, explore some deployment options that we can achieve using 4G or 5G for the MEC platform, specifically with the OMEC that we have open source CUPS architecture developed as part of ONF initiative. How can we use that? How can we leverage that to deploy CUPS architecture and MEC platforms at the edge? Then we will just give a glimpse of some market study and set a context for why we need to go for standardization, why we need to have a standardized platform, and what are various SDOs or standard bodies are doing on that front. So with that note, let me hand over to Amit to walk us through MEC architectural insights.
Thank you, Vikram. So before jumping into the MEC framework or reference architecture that is being defined by the EDSI MEC, let me touch base on what MEC is. So the MEC is like a microcloud environment running at the edge. So at the network edge, data is being analyzed, processed, and stored instead of going into the public cloud, which is providing a much needed kind of an enhanced experience to the ultra low latency applications. So this is the MEC framework, which is taken from the ETSI group specification MEC. So this figure shows the general entities involved. So logically, they are grouped into the three. That's the system level entities, the host level entities, and the networks. So the MEC system level entities defines the devices, the third-party applications, and the management part associated with it. The MEC host level entities are basically the MEC host and the MEC management of it. So the MEC host contains the virtualization infrastructure and the MEC platform, which is actually providing the support of deploying the MEC application on top of it. The MEC network level shows the different kinds of network entities involved, like the 3GPP networks, the local network, and the external networks. So the overall MEC system basically consists of the MEC host and the management necessary to run the MEC applications within an operator network or a subset of the operator network. With that, we will deep dive into the reference architecture. The next slide. Yeah. So this reference architecture again taken from the MEC framework. So this actually represents the functional entities of the MEC system, and also it defines the reference points between them. There are main three reference point. That's the first one indicated by the capital M small p. If you see, that's the management uh, functionality. The another reference point, that's the management reference point, that's the indicated by capital M small m. And the third reference point connecting to the external entities, that's the capital M x2 x basically. So now I'm starting from the MEC host, where the MEC host contains the virtualization infrastructure and the MEC platform, which provides the compute, storage, and network resources for the purpose of running the MEC applications. The virtualization infrastructure includes a data plane, which is actually executes the traffic rules received by the MEC platform. Rules received by the platform and routes the traffic between or among the applications and services, the DNS server, as well as the proxy or an 3GPP network or local network or the external network. So here the MEC platform is kind of it is a collection of the essential functionality required to run the MEC applications on a particular virtualized infrastructure and enable them to provide and consume the MEC services. MEC platform also provide some MEC services like discovery, traffic rule control, or DNS handling. Now, coming into the MEC applications. So MEC applications are basically instantiated on the virtualization infrastructure based on the configuration or request validated by the MEC management. Also, MEC app can interact with the MEC platform to consume and produce MEC services. MEC applications can have certain rules or restrictions associated with them, such as kind of maximum latency required, or resource required, or required any useful services, etc. These requirements are validated by the MEC system level management. Now, coming back to the MEC management, so the core component here is the multi-access edge orchestrator. That is actually kind of defining a central controller. And this multi-access edge orchestrator basically responsible for maintaining the central view of the system based on the deployed MEC host. It maintains the available resources, available services, and the topology. It is also responsible for onboarding the application packages, including the checking integrity checks of these packages, also the authentication part of it, validating application rules and the constraint associated with it. Sometimes there is a necessity of adjusting those constraints to comply with the operator requirement. Also, it is responsible for maintaining the kind of an inventory of those MEC applications or the packages being instantiated. It is also responsible for selecting the MEC host, the right MEC host for the application to be instantiated on top of it, depending on the constraint it specifies, like the resource required or the latency requirement, and the available resources, services. Now, so the OSS system right now, if you see in the figure, so that can be represented as a OSS of an operator, which will through which the customer facing portal or any third party application can send a request for application instantiation or termination. Those are kind of validated or granted access by the OSS system. And once those are granted access, those can be forwarded to the multi-access orchestrator so that it can take the appropriate actions. Now, coming back to the MEC host level management part. So the management part contains the platform manager and the virtualization infrastructure manager, which handles the management part of the MEC host and the applications running on top of them. So as a whole, this MEC architecture has been designed in such a way that a number of deployment options of the MEC system are possible. In the next slide, we will go and see these deployment models. The first one deployment scenario where the MEC platform and the local UPF is getting deployed at the base station itself, which is the nearest of the edge. So every base station has its own MEC platform and the local UPF associated with it. The second model will be somewhat far away from the base station. So here the MEC platform and the local UPF is being shared among some of the base station. So it is in between the network aggregation point and the base station. Now the third model is the MEC platform and the local UPF is being co-located at the network aggregation point. It's just it's kind of in the middle of the central office and the base station. The fourth deployment model is like the MEC and the UPF is co-located with the core network function, as if the MEC platform is running at the central office. With that, I like to hand over to the Vikram, who will explain how we can achieve these different deployment scenarios with our OMIC gateways.
Thanks, Amit. So as I mentioned in beginning that we have our open source 4G LTE project OMIC developed as part of ONF Consortium. So gateways which are developed in OMIC project are right now fully CUPS compliant as per release 15. And the models, deployment models that Amit showed in previous slide, actually all of those deployment models we can achieve through this open source gateway code. As you see in the diagram, there are multiple modes available in the gateways. We can have it deployed as a fully CUPS compliant at S gateway C and S gateway U, P gateway C and P gateway U separated. Or we can also have S and P combinedly launched as a control plane called SA gateway C or user plane. And that way we will be able to achieve various deployment scenarios for user plane at multiple locations. These gateways are right now supporting SXA and SXB protocol, which is PFCP protocol as per release 15. Gateways also support local breakout with help of DNS. So using DNS, you'll be able to identify which user plane to select for any particular type of application or any particular type of UE or APN, etc. So this local breakout based on DNS as per 23003 is also supported as part of these gateways. The key feature which these gateways also take care of is when you have your UPF user plane deployed at edge sites, they may need to behave differently based on some scenarios like handover case. They may have to change role from working in a combined S and P gateway mode to P gateway mode and back. So this dynamic switching of gateway's role based on the UE's behavior, whether UE is doing handover, whether it's in roaming or home, those decisions are handled locally at the deployed gateway, and gateway based on those UE's condition can dynamically change the behavior. So that way, OMIC's gateways are you can say we can use those for our edge deployments of user plane. I will just give one example using this in the next slide. So this is one scenario wherein we have just showcased how we can use OMIC for CUPS deployment. So as you see on the top side, top square, there is center office diagram wherein we have all the controllable components, MME, HSS, PCRF, and other database, etc. components launch. We can have those launch at our center office. We can have data plane also launch at central office, and one version of the data plane that is launched at the satellite side, which you can see at the bottom left. So we have two deployments. One is the center office and one is the satellite side. So satellite side is the edge deployment wherein we have user plane running close to the tower sites. So that is the deployment model we can achieve through OMIC. And then based on local breakout criteria or DNS, we can select for a certain type of traffic or certain type of connection, whether to choose user plane from center office or certain tower sites. Now, how to map or how to integrate that with the MEC is the additional example given here. So as you see in the center office side, we have MEC platform deployed there, which is launching edge application, and we have MEC controller, the system level component which Amit mentioned, which are mentioned there, and MEC is the host level component that Amit mentioned. And additionally, we also have MEC platform deployed at the satellite side. As per GSMA paper, we call it cloudlet as well. So it can be referred as MEC host or cloudlet that is being deployed at the edge side. Specifically, the applications which are developed, they can have two variants. One which can launch at the MEC edge, which is running in the center office, or we can also have a kind of application which are pretty much edge aware. Those launch at the deep. We can refer to those as deep edge application, which are launched at MEC platform, hosted at the satellite side. Just to give an example, we are working with one of our partner called Piconets. They have specialized CDN services designed with their caching capabilities and a few more their key features, especially to adhere to this edge application. So they have a CDN application which will be launched in the cloud. They have a CDN application with caching and key services which will be launched as edge application into the center office. And additionally, they have created a special deep edge CDN server which will be hosted on the satellite side. So now these kind of applications are coming up wherein we have edge application and we have deep edge application version of those with which will be able to run in constrained environment and provide some key latency or some key features available as part subset of the overall application. So those are the deployment model we can have, we can achieve with OMIC CUPS architecture, and the way it can integrate with the MEC platforms for edge and deep edge sites. Amit, next slide, please. So Aether is enterprise LT project by ONF. So in Aether, we have followed the pretty much same model that I just discussed in the previous slide. So as you see, there are two deployments, Aether Edge and Center Cloud. So Aether Edge is pretty much, you can say, mapping to the satellite side that I was talking to the on the previous slide, where we have user plane, mobile core user plane running at the edge side, and we have edge application hosted on the edge side. At the same time, central cloud, you can map that to the center office presented in the previous slide, wherein all the control plane components are running on the this central cloud, and a version of application or a high level services of this application are hosted on the central cloud. So this is the deployment model, or this is packaging Aether project that we have created as part of ONF's project. Amit, can you go to the next slide? Let me change context and come to some of the market research point around MEC and applications around that. Why I'm changing the gear and talking about this, I will tell you at the end of this slide. So there's a lot of traction that we are seeing in MEC space and application space. Specifically, MEC space in the industrial area with manufacturing or enterprise deployments. And as per the market trends, in next 5 to 7 years, there is a very good growth plan projected for MEC and applications around that. And that's not specific to any particular geolocation geography. That's worldwide. So this market from 3.6 billion this year is projected to go to 15.7 billion by 2025. That with a CAGR of 34%, which is a very good rate. Amit, can you go to the next slide? And this market is not, I mean, as a thing, it is going to be driven more from manufacturing, enterprise, logistics kind of use cases. And now healthcare is also taking very good traction on these particular use cases. So overall, MEC market, the platform market is having very good chances of realization as per these projections in upcoming years. That's about the platform. And let me talk about the application, because on platform there will be many verticals, many applications developed. For example, I'm just taking example of AR VR here. AR VR is in this case, AR VR is not limited only for the gaming or live streaming kind of scenarios. It is being explored a lot for manufacturing, enterprise use scenarios. As of 2017, AR VR market was pretty much stagnant, and the reason for that was the cloud services were not ready for providing the latency. GPU were very costly, and those were not available for the cloud services. With MEC platforms and with 5G and CUPS architecture, these are actually converting to realization. And AR VR platform, just AR VR market by 2025 is projected to be around 571 billion. That is with CAGR of 63.3, which is huge. Now, why I am pointing at this market research is there is a very good scope of realization and achieving this projected target for applications and platform. But for that, there is a need for having a standardized MEC platform, because use cases, if you look at the use cases, those are we need to have a good the use cases will be more around, say we have an application developed for one of the operators MEC platform. That same application we should be able to host on some other operators. Application launch at one operator's platform should be able to use services launched from some other operator's platform. Application which is launched, say as a one operator's platform as a primary service, when user is in roaming scenario, he may want to connect to his original operator's application servers through secondary operators or visited operators cloud platforms, MEC platforms. So these are various scenarios wherein for vendors, for system integrators, it is very important to have these platforms, its interfaces, its APIs being standardized, and those are the base to achieve whatever is projected in this slide as market research. Unless we have that base, those standardization defined, it will be trouble. Otherwise, there will be multiple ways to achieve this. And I think Amit will talk more on that in next slide on where we are as of today with respect to open source solutions or commercial solution, and what various SDOs or standard bodies are doing with respect to making it standardized. So with that note, I will just hand over to Amit to give us more insights into current developments and SDOs.
Yeah, thanks. So this slide, I'm just listing out some of the popular open source MEC platform. Most of them are kind of a complete platform, but whereas some like in openness is kind of providing the toolkit to build a standardized platform. So some of the platform kind of adhere to the MEC, ETSI MEC standard, but not all of them. But the openness specifically, is compliant with the MAC, but the approach is different. Like you can take this platform and tweak it and make it applicable. Like for example, it provides an inbuilt services like the network plugins. There are various options are available, including the DPTK. That gives us a flexibility to choose different kinds of applications to be deployed on that. The feature I like is the GPU as a service that Vikram has mentioned, that the VR and AR VR kind of application needed that. So with that service available as a base platform, this will let application developers come and develop the sophisticated application instead of looking into the base platform. So this openness also provides the controller APIs and also the API, standardized APIs for the application onboarding, service registration, service discovery in compliance with the MSC platform. So the point here I want to mention is there are these are different open source project. I didn't mention the commercial platforms here, but all of them are trying to solve the same puzzle of MEC deployment, but there is no one common standard. So it's difficult to interoperate between them. So now I am moving to the standardization work or efforts from the standard bodies done. So there are several ongoing standardization activities supporting this edge deployment in conjunction with the mobile networks, enabling different business models to exist. This includes like the MNOs kind of operate the edge cloud infrastructure and offer cloud services to the application service provider. There is another model where the cloud service provider gets into an agreement or a partnership with the MNOs. But the most relevant standard activities to support the edge cloud deployment in conjunction with the MNOs is taking place at the 3GPP and the ETSI ISJ-MEC. So the other groups like the GSMA and the 5G AA are actually focusing on kind of gathering the requirements and getting the implementation agreement, leveraging those standards. With that, I will go through some details work on the standard front that's being done, that's been happening. So in the 3GPP, like the SS6 specification, it defines a specification for the mobile edge application. Specifically through the specification leveraging specification of enabling a layer to facilitate the communication between the application client and the application deployed at the edge, which kind of facilitating the deployment of edge aware and edge unaware application clients. Coming back to the SA5, basically, so that is actually specifying or working on specifying the life cycle of the applications that is being deployed on the edge cloud, and also the charging aspect of this 3GPP network. Now, coming back to SA2, that is basically actually defines the architecture for the mobile network, including the 5G. In the context of the edge computing, it actually actually defines the traffic steering and how the user traffic is being routed to the application that is being deployed on the edge. It also provides means to provision the traffic rules, also defines the integration points with the MEC. Now coming back to ETSI, so as I have already explained, it defines the reference framework and the reference architecture. So thereby it has created an open standard kind of an IT service environment, which allows the third party, both edge unaware and aware applications to be hosted at the edge of the mobile network. And it is capable of exposing the network and the context information. It also provides the standardized APIs for management, orchestration, and the mobility, which will facilitate the application is running at the right location, at the right time, and with ensuring the service continuity. MEC is kind of currently studying the MEC Federation use cases to enable the shared uses of the MEC services that Vikram talked about. So the application across the MEC system can talk to each other in a multi-vendor, multi-network, or environment, or multi-operator environment. Now, coming to GSMA, so GSMA, as I iterated, is actually kind of working towards with the MNOs, defining the requirements about the federation concepts, the APIs, the mechanisms, and associated procedure between the operator system for an end-to-end high-level architecture of the unified operator platform. So in phase one, they are kind of targeting, kind of providing a global edge access to the application developer and the enterprise segment. So they can understand the ability and the capability of the operator platform, and thereby they can build the innovative applications on top of it. With that, I want to conclude on this presentation. That's the edge ecosystem is kind of witnessing a rapid expansion, and to accelerate time to market and promote industry adoption, it is necessary to ensure alignment, adoption of standard, which offers common practices and tools, which helps to simplify the co-creation of the innovation, and that can bring out kind of valuable integrations. So here, I just want to mention that the ONF has a kind of a lot of exhaustive experience in developing the standardized platform. So we at ONF, I think we can take a lead in adopting such or building such a standardized platform. With that note, I like to end this presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was very clear and very helpful. It's interesting how you were talking about ONF there at the end and the standards. You guys are in a very unique position, watching the standards move and participate in the open source, and just wondering what your impressions are, overviews of the tensions that kind of happen between standardization and open source. And in particular, open source moves at its own pace. And sometimes it moves very fast, and standards don't move quite so fast. So I'm kind of curious as to, has the open source work moved beyond MEC? How does MEC keep up kind of that tension, if you have any insights?
The standard are also kind of, there are open points also, like for example, the device mobility kind of problems are still there. So I can say that the standards are moving at their pace, and but the platforms are also catching up. If you think of the latest open source frameworks, they are quickly adapting to this MEC kind of specifications.
I'm just wondering if the open source projects have been successful adopting MEC APIs.
I wouldn't say at this time no, because it's kind of an in progress right now. It's not mature yet.
Okay, so kind of continuing this line, but just drilling down into a specific example. The reference architecture talks about the management plane at the top, and you called out specifically this is where an operator's OSS would fit in. This is, on the other hand, the other way of looking at it is it's an edge cloud, and edge and cloud management layers might be appropriate. And I know in Ether, we're building a very cloud-like management plane that doesn't necessarily look like an OSS. I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts on the OSS versus cloud management story.
Yes, it will look like the same. Yes, but the layer between talking to the MEC platform, that's basically the varying stuff. Like for example, if you think of an application being onboarded on the Ether platform, and the same application cannot be onboarded on some other platform, right? That's the challenge there.
Okay. Another point that came up was the GPU service, and I'm just that's really interesting. I assume that I'm going to guess that's going to be a pretty big deal at the edge. What experience you have with GPUs and so on?
Yes, so the point I want to mention, if the Belace platform kind of supporting some kind of platform enhancement, like for example the GPU as a service, if you think of already the platform is coming up with that plugin, whatever the supported plugin, supporting some Intel GPU or NVIDIA GPUs. If that service is exposed, so the application developer need not means he doesn't need to see the platform is already available, so he can just concentrate on developing the application, right?
Okay.
So that way the platform can be enhanced.
So just to add on GPU part, we have been working with multimedia domain projects for long at GS Lab, and AR/VR is also one of the area where we are contributing to. And challenge was always in that area, GPU availability or this high processing demands. And now with MEC platforms and these edge scenarios, even cloud companies like AWS, etc., those are also coming up with GPU as a service. And you can have our edge platforms hosted on this AWS. They are also coming up with various on edge scenarios, and will be providing GPU as a service on edge. And then I think that with those services coming up, this GPU or AR/VR kind of application development seems to have really good scope.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for your talk, and looking forward to continuing to work with you, GS Labs and ONF. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, Larry.